Miami Heat did it. They finally traded Jimmy Butler. I'm here to break down the full trade as it was a bit confusing in real time, all on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, before we get to that, remember, if you're a part of the 85.5% currently watching this video, not currently subscribed to the channel, you want to stay up to date on everything Miami Heat, scroll down, click the subscribe button. We do appreciate all the love and support. But now let's get to it and break down this massive trade for the Miami Heat. Now, for the last 2 months, if not longer than that, this Miami Heat team has been involved in conversations surrounding the disgruntled all-star in Jimmy Butler, who, as we all know, has not enjoyed his time, especially this season, with this Miami Heat organization for more than just one reason. Now, he is off to Golden State, and we got a pretty good return for him. Now, in the initial tweet from Shams, we honestly thought it was a two-team trade involving the Golden State Warriors and this Miami Heat team, where it looked like the Heat were getting a pretty good return for someone that we were being told we weren't going to get very much of anything in return for Jimmy Butler, because everyone surrounding the association really trying to go out and get Jimmy Butler knew he was a disgruntled all-star who was going to be really had to be moved by this Miami Heat team this season. And because of that, it seemed like we were getting lowballed to some extent. And it seems like now, with the whole trade and all the details coming out, we did pretty damn good. Now, Shams tweeted this: breaking, the Miami Heat are finalizing a deal to send Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick, sources tell ESPN. But it wasn't as simple as that. As it comes to find out, it was a multiple-team trade. Now, Shams instantly subtweeted that original tweet with this as following: Dennis Schroeder is headed to Utah and Kyle Anderson to Toronto on part of this multi-team trade, sources said. I'm sorry, the font is very, very tiny. Then Shams would then retweet and subtweet that with this: Miami is keeping Kyle Anderson for now, sources said, so Wiggins, Tucker, and Anderson are all in Miami along with the Warriors' protected first rounder. So, few moving parts. So what happened? Well, it seemed like, really quickly, another player headed to Miami in this deal via Utah. PJ Tucker, sources said Tucker and the Heat reunite. So I love that part of this, but again, let's break it down in its entirety. Shout out to Hoop Central for posting this tweet and really breaking it down in the best, really visually pleasing way so we can see which teams are involved and who's going where. So Golden State got Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler by himself. I will say they extended him before he got to Golden State, which is very interesting because obviously on February 2nd, we brought you guys a video breaking down new quotes and new information coming from Brian Windhorst suggesting that, or reporting, I should say, that Jimmy Butler and the Golden State Warriors in the offers discussing the two fell through because Jimmy Butler shut down the idea of possibly being extended by the Golden State Warriors if he were acquired by that organization. And obviously we were told the trades and all of the communication between the Heat and the Golden State Warriors involving Jimmy Butler in a possible trade scenario had been shut down because of that. And then obviously days go by, a bunch of speculation comes out, and now today Jimmy Butler is obviously moved, and he instantly gets an extension. Again, shout out to Shams and Brian Windhorst, as they are both the ones to break the news. New Golden State Warrior star Jimmy Butler has agreed to a new 2-year, $121 million extension with the franchise through 2026-2027. Sources tell me and Brian Windhorst. Butler's declining his 2025-2026 player option for his new $121 million deal. Now, this is substantial. I can't believe they gave Jimmy this much money for a 2-year deal to really only hold on to him until the end of 2027. This is great for Jimmy Butler. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out in Golden State, if it's a mix between Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, honestly, Jonathan Kuminga and Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, all of the main components over in Golden State. It's going to be very interesting to see how all these puzzle pieces really fit together. As we know, Jimmy Butler is a character, and he is very much a leader on and off the floor, whether it's with his voice or, again, his actions. And now whether or not he's going to butt heads with someone like Draymond Green, again, that is going to be so much fun to watch and really analyze and see how it all plays out amongst the Golden State Warriors organization. But again, that is not a problem for the Miami Heat that they have to deal with anymore, because again, Jimmy Butler is a member of the Golden State Warriors. It shows him in the number 21 in this Golden State Warriors jersey. I'm here to tell you he will be wearing number 10 for the Golden State Warriors. Again, so this is very interesting. So back to this graphic. Golden State gets Jimmy Butler. Miami gets Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, PJ Tucker, and a 2025 top 10 protected first round pick. Detroit gets Lindy Waters, Josh Richardson, and a second round pick. And then Utah gets Dennis Schroeder and a 2032 second round pick. I apologize, the font is small. That's why I keep leaning in my screen. But again, this is the trade in its entirety, a 4-team trade, and it was substantial. Obviously, Miami did reload just a bit, and again, for someone being told, or for us being told, that Jimmy Butler wasn't going to get a whole lot of value because everyone knew Miami's backs were against the wall and they had to trade him because if not, he was just going to sit at home. And once free agency hit this offseason, again, he was going to decline that player option. Again, we are all assuming, but again, based off of what we've seen up to this point, it was very, very likely when the offseason came, free agency started, Butler was going to decline that player option, test the free agent market, and then obviously cause a bidding war amongst possible landing spots that wanted to land the All-Star in Jimmy Butler. Now, obviously, Miami wanted to move him before that happened in order to get some assets in return for someone in Jimmy Butler that, again, can push the needle to some extent for these teams trying to win now. And that's exactly what happened with Golden State. Now, Golden State, if you guys have not heard, were calling everyone. They were calling Milwaukee about Giannis. They were calling the 76ers about Paul George. They were calling LA about LeBron. They were calling Miami about Jimmy Butler. They were calling Phoenix about Kevin Durant. They were calling about any and everyone in the association to try to help Steph Curry in this Golden State Warriors team as currently constructed, obviously with Draymond Green and Steve Kerr and the rest of the honestly really good players they have out in Golden State to try to open up that championship window just a bit more to allow Steph Curry to really give it one more shot before he goes off into the sunset. And trying to acquiring Jimmy Butler seems to be really the only option they had. The Kevin Durant stuff fell through. Paul George never had really any traction. Giannis wasn't going anywhere. LeBron James shut down all of that conversation because of the addition of Luka. And again, wanting to play alongside him and really be a more of a mentor type of player to Luka and the rest of this LA organization. So again, very, very intriguing trade for all parties considered. And again, the Miami Heat going out and acquiring Andrew Wiggins. Obviously, Kyle Anderson, based off reports, was supposed to be on his way to Toronto. That fell through, and because of it falling through, I'm sorry, it's late, Kyle Anderson will now retain with this Miami Heat team, and I am totally okay with it. Obviously, it has some budget issues, but again, he's not going to be a part of this Miami Heat team past the 2027 season, I believe is the way his contract is set up. I'm not looking at it. I apologize. It's something we'll break down in the next video of Heat Digest, but again, lengthy wings. Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, length. PJ Tucker, we've been there. We've done that. Now he's returning. He's a name that we've brought up last season as well as during the offseason. Someone that is nitty-gritty, going to slap the floor, play defense, rebound the basketball, be vocal, and he's really going to really be a part of this Heat culture and lead by example. And I think he's going to be a great fit once again for this Miami Heat team, but really the new additions, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, two very lengthy wing players who can defend the basketball extremely well while also rebounding the basketball at a high clip. I think these are great moves for the Miami Heat. Obviously, they didn't go out and get someone along the lines of Kevin Durant. That would be phenomenal, and I'd probably be popping champagne in this video right now, ruining my entire setup. Unfortunately, that did not happen, but again, we have to really take with what we got. And obviously, again, highlighting the idea that Jimmy Butler was not supposed to get this much in return for this Miami Heat team due to all the teams knowing our back was against the wall. But again, the Warriors' backs were against the wall as well because they have to make a trade before the deadline in order to keep the championship window, at least in their opinion, still open for Steph Curry with the time they still have with this All-Star. So again, going out and getting Jimmy Butler and sending Andrew Wiggins, as well as allowing us to go out and get these other key pieces from Utah, This is a very, very good trade for this Miami Heat team. I think it really does help us. I think it's going to allow us a lot more versatility as well as depth on this Miami Heat roster. And I think it's going to be a very, very intriguing rest of the season for this Miami Heat team. I can't wait to see how the rest of this plays out, not only for the Miami Heat, but also the Golden State Warriors. I know it didn't end well with Jimmy Butler, but again, he was Jimmy Butler. And now we're going to bring you a video breaking down really just how thankful you should be if you are not, at least thinking that you're thankful for someone in Jimmy Butler for the tenure and run that he had in Miami, because it was special. I know it didn't end in a championship ring in any of those years, but again, 2 finals appearances, multiple deep playoff runs, heroic performance after heroic performance with an undermanned team. Again, Butler was substantial for this Heat organization. There's no way around it. I know it ended ugly, but again, we have to tip our cap where it's due. Thank him for his time here in Miami and the success he did bring. But now it's time to move on with Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, PJ Tucker in a 2025 top 10 protected pick. So again, this is going to be very interesting. Let me know down below what you guys think about this massive trade for the Miami Heat, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.